Well,
You?
No complaint.
You never complain. You're this optimist.
No. Very annoying, isn't it? Maybe when I left my reading glasses.
I finished the last couple. Thank you for your service. You were in some turbulent time.
Wow. Time, you have 1 minute.
You need another for a forum? I was it? That I got here.
About to blast it on public, social media.
We're trying to go quick because Supervisor Teeter has to. And like I said, we're having a meeting because we have to approve the FDIP, otherwise we probably have.
Just hand them the keys. Just hand them the keys. I know they know how to
Did you say
drive.
to get his N80s to?
I know they have, I know they know how to drive.
Hand them your young ladies.
Some lady, I'm like, N80s to school, what are you talking about? It just doesn't sound.
Okay, I will call the September 22nd meeting of the BCAG Board of Directors to order. If you would all stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do you want to call the roll?
Board Member Connolly?
Here.
Board Member Lucero? Board Member Wirt? Here. Board Member Kimmel-Two?
Here?
Board Member Teeter?
Here.
Board Member Knuckles?
Here.
Board Member K. Reynolds? Here. Board Member Calderon?
Here.
Board Member C. Reynolds? Board Member Jones?
Here. Thank you. Item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove any items? Seeing none,
Move to adopt. Second?
those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? No items removed, so we will move on to item number 5, adoption of FTIP.
Good morning, Board. As the BCAG, as the federally designated NPO for Butte County, BCAG is required to prepare and adopt a federal transportation improvement program to identify all transportation projects that have transportation funding or require some type of federal approval from the Federal Highway Administration or Federal Transit Administration. Same agenda item presented last month. No changes have been made. Staff is incorporating some minor comments from Caltrans. The same 21 projects are included for approximately $195 million. The FTIP also identifies federal performance measures. It includes an air quality conformity analysis and determination. The FTIP was developed in accordance with BCAG's public participation plan. A couple Zoom workshops were also held. If no significant comments are received, staff requests the board to adopt the 2023 FTIP by resolution 2022-23-04. The resolution also authorizes staff to make any necessary technical corrections to ensure timely state and federal approval. Once adopted, the board can amend at any time.
Are there any public comments? Any questions from the board?
one question. I was just curious, since it has to do with freight and transportation, is there anything that was added, in terms of emergency planning or with, when we have FEMA come in and we're looking at debris removal and things like that? Because that has been a big issue for our area. And so I was just curious if that's anything that's been included.
Not in the FTIP, planning documents, are not included in the FTIP. That would be more in BCAG's other. The FTIP is really the action program to its long-range regional transportation plan, sustainable communities.
Where would that live in BCAG documents?
But we do touch on it in the regional transportation plan.
Motion,
Move to adopt.
those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Moving on to item B for information.
Bye, girls.
That's cool.
Good morning, Board. I'm here presenting the key financial and statistical results for Butte Regional Transit for the fourth quarter and the full fiscal year of 2021-22. The attached tables present a summary of key financial and operation results for Butte Regional Transit, and the financial data presentation compares fourth quarter results to the annual budget and to the prior year. Since this is the final report for fiscal year 21-22, we'll also cover final annual numbers. Operation tables present a performance-based assessment in comparison with the same quarter of the prior fiscal year. Measurements of revenue, expense, ridership, vehicle revenue hours, and passengers per vehicle revenue hour are broken down by the four types of service: fixed route and paratransit, both urban and rural. This separation helps define where improvements and/or issues are taking place. Accidents, complaints, gauging safety and customer satisfaction, respectively, are analyzed for the system as a whole. The comparisons being made in this memo are to the previous fiscal year, which, as you all know, was fully impacted by the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The overall loss of fares continues to cause problems in meeting fare box ratios mandated by the TDA. However, in July 2021, California AB 149 was passed that extended the previous TDA exemption from the fare box requirement through fiscal year 22-23. So the federal pandemic relief funding continues to help cover lost fare revenues during this time, and it should be noted that although we are not meeting fare box in 3 out of our 4 service areas, the ratios are rising in all 4 service areas. Unlike last year, when most of the quarterly ridership comparisons saw large reductions as the data was being compared to the previous non-COVID year, this year's data is showing dramatic increases as it's being compared to the extremely low ridership generated at the height of the pandemic. Even though ridership is trending upward, that is only in relation to those low numbers at the height of the pandemic and the shelter-in-place order. Below, graphed out, is the ridership trends for fiscal year 2021 and 21-22. You'll see the total fixed route ridership in blue on the top. The red line is the urban fixed route ridership. Rural fixed route is in green, and system-wide paratransit usage is that line in purple at the bottom. Overall, these ridership numbers are trending upward with expected fluctuations from student ridership at various times of the year. So for rural fixed route is our only system that is exceeding the TDA fare box ratio requirement of 10%, coming in at 10.9% for this fiscal year. Ridership for the quarter was up 26.8% from the prior year quarter and up 27.4% for the fiscal year. Passenger fares met the budgeted expectations, and operating expenditures were 107% of the annual budget, largely due to rising gas prices. Urban fixed route is not meeting the TDA fare box requirement of 20%. The final year-end ratio was 11.1%. And that reflected reduced ridership fares due to continuing effects of COVID-19 and the changing nature of public transit. Ridership increased 38.6% compared to the prior year's quarter, and it's up 54.4% for the fiscal year. Passenger fares were 140% of the annual budget. This reflects the return of students to more regular in-person instruction, both at the K-12 and university levels. The expenditures were over budgeted expectations, coming in at 108% of the annual budget, largely due, again, to rising gas prices. Rural paratransit is not meeting TDA requirements of 10%. It came in this year at 7%. Ridership for the year, ridership was up 21.8% for the quarter and 14.8% for the year. Passenger revenues were higher than expected by 10%, and expenditures were lower than budget expectations at 71% of the annual budget, as less service hours were operated than initially anticipated. Service hours were down 7% for the year due to increased efficiency on the system, and relaxed COVID protocols allowed for more passengers to be scheduled per trip. For the last 2 quarters of the fiscal year, the efficiency was at 2.9 passengers per hour, which is close to our pre-pandemic threshold. Urban paratransit is not meeting TDA fare box requirement either. It finished the year at 8.1%. Ridership was slightly down for the quarter, but up 34.8% for the year. Passenger revenues for the year came in at 125% of budget, and expenditures were 72% of budgeted expectations due to reduced operator costs. Service hours were up 8.8% compared to the previous year, although actual service hours were less than anticipated. This is partially due to the efficiency of the system increasing to 3.1 passengers per hour from 2.5 passengers per hour last fiscal year. So there was 1 preventable accident for the quarter with 350,250 miles driven, and there were 2 valid complaints in the quarter, which is within reason for the total number of rides given, which, as you can see, is just over 141,000. Any questions?
I have a question. Do you know what percentage of the pre-COVID ridership we're up to?
We are about at 50% of pre-COVID ridership.
Any other questions?
So in some cases, the ridership went down, but once we collected.
The ridership and the amount that went down for the quarter, but overall compared to last year, it went up. And then for the entire year, it's up over last year.
Any fee adjustments, any fare adjustments?
No. It's still the same fare. We haven't changed fare since September 2019.
How much, have you ever figured out how much of the ridership is students?
Specifically for Chico State, it's
Yeah.
about 30%.
30%?
Yeah. If you pull up the Excel sheet, I have, just so you can see what ridership is doing now. This is what ridership looks like after Chico State came back in.
Wow.
So you can see this very drastic increase for August over June and July.
That's very interesting. Probably has something to do with fuel costs as well.
I'm sure it does. A lot of, we're hearing a lot from parents that are sticking their K-12 students on on our buses to get to school.
Any public comments on this item?
What do you think accounts for the decline that happens like September through January?
I think part of that is Chico State students realize exactly how close they live to the campus, and they start walking. Like, honestly, aside from that, or, ride shares and carpooling starts to become more common. It gets set up in September, and then it just starts moving forward from there. But we'll be interested to see what happens with this quarter as ridership.
Brings us to items from the floor. Comments? None. We are then adjourned, and the next meeting of the BCAG Board of Directors will be Thursday, October 27th, in the boardroom and via Zoom.
Okay.
Might have broke my record.